I am the sole successor of the Ghost Gate 13 Needles art in this world. In my past life, before the poisoned imperial consort was buried, the emperor knelt down with his true dragon body, begging me to heal his beloved consort. I made an exception and applied the needles, spending 3 days and 3 nights to snatch the imperial consort back from the jaws of the Ghost Gate. The emperor was overjoyed and immediately arranged a marriage for me with the Zhengguo general. On the day I went into labor, the imperial consort in the palace threw a tantrum, threatening to starve herself to death. Zhang Hufeng dismissed all the maids and with one slash of his knife, sliced open my belly, throwing my unopened-eyed child to be fed to the dogs. Aren't you the one who claimed to be the Ghost Gate 13 Needles successor? Able to even save the dead? I want to see if you can stitch your own belly back together. Imperial consort Nyang Nyang and I were childhood sweethearts. We had long planned this. She drank the death-simulating drug, and after leaving the palace I would take her far away to live freely. It was precisely you, this fake miracle doctor, who exploited a favor to demand repayment, coveted glory and wealth, and tore me and the consort apart. Do you even know that at that time the consort was already pregnant with my child? Because of your meddling, she had to drink the abortion medicine after returning, injuring her body and becoming completely infertile. The suffering the consort endured, I will make you taste it all. I bled out onto the floor, dying in excruciating pain. Given a second chance at life, the Supreme Emperor of the 9 and 5 once again knelt before me. As long as the divine physician can revive our beloved consort, whatever you desire, we grant any wish. I glanced at the imperial consort prepared for burial in the coffin. I immediately refused. This disappoints your majesty. The Ghost Gate 13 Needles is a legendary art defying heaven. This humble woman's medical skills are inadequate. I truly do not know it. Welcome to listen to the ancient Chinese romance story. I'm the blogger and I'm Whispers of Phoenix. Now let's start the main story. I hadn't expected I would refuse. The emperor looked utterly shocked and disappointed. The palace servants surrounding us also drew sharp breaths upon hearing this. But I am the only Ghost Gate 13 Needles successor in the world. Once these needles are applied, they can revive the dead and regenerate flesh on bones. The emperor, who had humbled himself by kneeling, his face darkening, quickly said, "Has what we offer still not been enough? As long as the divine physician revives the imperial consort, we will enfeoff you as a commandery princess, bestow 10,000 taels of gold, 10,000 acres of fief land." These conditions were incredibly tempting. Who wouldn't want a noble title to become someone above others? The imperial physicians kneeling on the ground exchanged glances, their eyes filled with unconcealed envy. Unfortunately, their medical skills were limited, unable to defy fate and revive the deeply poisoned, life hanging by a thread imperial consort. That's why the emperor personally traveled thousands of miles to find my secluded valley, kneeling before me, begging me to apply the needles and snatch the imperial consort's life back. My expression unchanged, I refused again. It is not that this humble woman deliberately refuses to save her. But the Ghost Gate 13 Needles is a legendary acupuncture technique, far too complex and mysterious. This humble woman never learned it fully from her master. Your Majesty should still seek someone more capable. In my past life I did not hide my edge. I expended my energy toiling without rest for 3 days and 3 nights, using the secret non-transmitted technique, Ghost Gate 13 Needles, to revive the dying imperial consort. The emperor immediately arranged my marriage, betrothing me to Zhengguo General Zhang Hufeng. I didn't know he and the imperial consort were mutually devoted, that they had long been having an illicit affair. Before giving birth, the imperial consort in the palace suddenly threw a tantrum, threatening to starve herself to death. No matter who tried to persuade her, she refused a single bite of food. Zhang Hufeng, frantic and flustered, stayed in the palace with her for a whole day. The imperial consort wept like a pear blossom bathed in rain. "Hufeng, don't come into the palace to accompany me anymore. That female doctor is about to give birth to your flesh and blood. From now on, live well with her and forget about me." If it weren't for her insistence on saving me, we would already be living as an ordinary loving couple among the common people, and our child would be big by now. Zhang Hufeng returned to my side, a murderously cold glint in his eyes. When I was at my weakest, he sliced open my belly with his sword, threw my unopened-eyed child to the servants, telling them to feed it to the dogs. "Nan Sang Sang, didn't you boast of being a miracle doctor? Able to snatch lives back from the king of Hell's Hall? Go ahead and stitch your own belly back together. It was your meddling that prevented Shitong from escaping the palace to be with me, forcing her to abort our child. I sweated profusely from the pain, my vision blurring. Blood soaked my icy limbs. Facing my pleas, Jean Huffing turned a deaf ear, vicious and cold. This is your retribution. However much pain Shitong endured drinking the abortion medicine, I will make you repay her 100-fold. This life I won't save people, and I definitely won't accept any arranged marriage. Let's see if, without my intervention, Jean Huffing can achieve a lasting relationship with his imperial consort Nyang Nyang. Imperial consort Chu Shitong had drunk the death-simulating drug. Her face was ghastly pale and ashen, her breath faint. She had already been placed in the coffin, awaiting burial. And Jean Huffing stood guard beside the coffin, unwavering, like a pair of door gods protecting her, his gaze warily sweeping over me. He hadn't heard clearly what the Emperor said to me. He strode forward to block me, his voice full of disgust. Your Majesty, this woman is nothing but a fraud coveting glory and wealth. You cannot believe her words. A dark glint flashed in Jean Huffing's eyes. He was terrified that this time I might actually revive the consort, ruining their plan to elope. Better to let this lowly officer hack off her hands, teach this fraud a lesson so she dares not deceive your Majesty again. Jean Huffing finished speaking with utter contempt, a cold light flashing in his hand. He drew his sword and swung it towards my hands. For a medical practitioner, hands are even more precious than life itself. To protect his imperial consort Nyang Nyang, Jean Huffing was about to destroy the most precious thing in my life. At the critical moment, the cold sword edge was about to touch my wrist. The Emperor's icy, authoritative voice rang out. General Jean, stop. The female physician did not swindle or deceive us. She said she does not know the Ghost Gate 13 needles and cannot revive the consort. The Emperor sighed softly, his tone disappointed. Jean Huffing, however, couldn't hide his delight. He gave me a suspicious glance, seemingly puzzled why I had changed my story this life and didn't show off like before. But his entire mind was preoccupied with the consort. He couldn't be bothered to inquire further about my change. He secretly shot me a warning glance, forbidding me to interfere. Of course I wouldn't interfere either. This life, even if they offered me the entire realm on a platter, I would never save Chu Shitong. I glanced at the delicate beauty lying in the coffin. The ashen color on her face had deepened. Clearly she had taken too much death-simulating drug. Only her last breath remained. Jean Huffing, still completely unaware, dreamed of the consort feigning death, then them escaping together to raise their child in secret. A cold smile flickered across my lips. I didn't expose the truth. Instead I said, Your Majesty, seek some other renowned physicians, perhaps they can revive her ladyship. The Emperor, knowing I couldn't perform the Ghost Gate 13 needles, seemed to have aged considerably. We have sought renowned physicians throughout the land. Divine Physician Nan, you are our last hope. If you cannot save Tanger, then no one can. Hearing this, Jean Huffing was overjoyed. Secretly rubbing his hands in excitement, he waited for the drug's effect to wear off in 2 hours, planning then to pry open the coffin and elope with the consort. I laughed silently. He didn't know yet that 2 hours later, the beloved of his heart, cherished for 2 lifetimes, would become a complete corpse. Just as I was about to leave and return to my secluded valley, someone seized my wrist with a vice-like grip. I winced in pain, casting a cold glance at Jean Huffing. He lowered his voice, his tone mocking and scornful. Nan Sang, you've also been reborn, haven't you? My expression remained cold, deliberately feigning ignorance. Jean Huffing stared coldly at my face, like a venomous snake ready to strike at any moment. Whether you've been reborn or not, this life, you absolutely must not ruin my plan. He whispered in my ear. Otherwise, I will make you wish you were dead. As his sinister words fell, the excruciating pain of having my belly cut open and my child taken in my past life resurfaced, my face paling for an instant. Jean Huffing looked satisfied, appreciating the expression on my face. Nan Sang, in your past life you married me. Could it be you still harbor lingering feelings for me? I forcibly suppressed my hatred and disgust, repeatedly telling myself that now was not the best time for revenge. He scrutinized my fingers, maliciously sneering. Weren't you the one who said these hands are the steadiest, most precise hands? The Ghost Gate 13 needles require steady hands and meticulous care. Not the slightest error is allowed, or the patient will perish instantly. In my past life I had trusted him so much. I told him the secrets of the Ghost Gate 13 needles, only for it to become his means of revenge against me. Nan Sang Sang, after Shi Tang and I become husband and wife, it's not impossible for you to be a foot washing maid. Just let these steadiest, most precise hands serve us by washing our feet. I stepped back several paces, putting distance between us, speaking coldly, my gaze holding not the tenderness of the past life, but only ice-cold hatred carefully hidden. This humble woman does not understand the general's nonsense. This humble woman is the successor of the medicine immortals, guarding this place generation after generation. How could I leave to marry? Even less possible to be anyone's maid. It took the emperor kneeling to plead for our lineage to leave the mountain and save someone. Jean Huffing actually had the audacity to suggest I become their foot-washing maid. Seeing my stern refusal, Jean Huffing's face darkened with anger. He was furious and said fiercely, Nan Sang Sang, allowing you to be a foot-washing maid is already showing you respect. Don't be ungrateful. I tell you this life, the position of my principal wife can only belong to Tanger. Imperial consort Chu Shitang? I smiled secretly. She was about to become a corpse. Since Jean Huffing is so devoted, why not follow her straight to hell? He sneered as if thinking of something. To help you get used to your role as a foot-washing maid. Start by washing the feet of these soldiers. At Jean Huffing's command, soldiers under his banner leered and lined up, walking towards me. Foot-washing maid. Kneel down quickly and serve them by washing their feet. Pairs of filthy, stinking feet. Stomped hard on my body, kicking me down. They had received Jean Huffing's order to destroy my hands. No. Stop. They were rough, stomping on my fingers again and again. Grinding down forcefully, seemingly intent on crushing all the bones in my hands. 10 fingers connect to the heart. Intense pain shot through me, excruciatingly deep. My whole body trembled. Without these hands I could never hold silver needles steady again, boil decoctions or heal people. Just as Jean Huffing gleefully prepared to stomp down even harder, a palace servant rushed over anxiously. Stop this immediately. The palace servant helped the disheveled me up. Miss Nan, are you all right? Can your hands still move? The crown prince has suddenly fallen unconscious. The imperial physicians couldn't find the problem. The empress dowager summons you. I flexed my fingers, bruised and bleeding from being stomped on. Pain and overwhelming hatred surged up, the taste of blood mixing with the saltiness of tears in my mouth. It took immense effort to suppress it, and I responded softly. All right. I will avenge the grievances of both lifetimes together. Jean Huffing insulted and tormented me like this. I absolutely will not let him off. Entering the tent, I sat down and carefully took the crown prince's pulse. The crown prince's meridians are blocked, hence the unconsciousness. He needs acupuncture. However, applying the needles requires removing his clothing. The Empress Dowager hesitated for a moment. Can he not even keep an underrobe? I nodded, explaining. A physician regards all patients equally. In a physician's eyes there is only the condition, no distinction between male and female. I object. A low roar interrupted loudly. Learning that I intended to undress the crown prince for acupuncture, Jean Huffing's face darkened like spilled ink, a flicker of jealousy and possessiveness crossing his brow. Your Majesty Empress Dowager, you are unaware, but she is no miracle doctor. She's a fraud. Be careful, she uses physical contact to covet glory and wealth, clinging to the crown prince. The Empress Dowager hesitated. Is that so? I lowered my gaze, preparing the silver needles, my expression calm and focused, not explaining myself. This demeanor, however, reassured the Empress Dowager. The Emperor traveled thousands of miles to find this physician. We believe she is no fraud and has a way to cure the crown prince. Unable to have his way, Jean Huffing. His face twisted, he sneered coldly. Nan Sang Sang, dare you bet your life? If you cannot cure the crown prince, you commit suicide to atone. Betting one's own life to save someone? No one is willing to do that. Jean Huffing also bet that I wouldn't dare. I, however, looked up at him with a cold laugh. Why wouldn't I dare? If this humble woman cannot cure the crown prince, she will be buried with him. But if General Jean loses? Jean Huffing still wore an indifferent expression. He thought that in my past life, I revived the consort merely by chance, that she had only taken a death-simulating drug. If I didn't treat her, she would have woken up anyway. But I used it to claim credit, usurping Chu Shitong's place, becoming his wife, hence their deep hatred for me. I raised my chin slightly, smirking, enunciating each word. If General Jean loses, I want you to lose everything, starting with the person you care about most. Jean Huffing's face paled, and he roared furiously at my retreating back. Nan Sang, how dare you curse her? In front of so many people, Jean Huffing didn't utter the consort's name. I had already turned away, instructing the palace servants to draw the bed curtains so I could treat Crown Prince Mo Jingchuan with needles. His clothes were removed one by one. The palace lamps illuminated the body of the unconscious man. His muscles were well defined and smooth. Broad shoulders and a powerful waist were just right. His chest and abdomen shone like warm jade, captivating to the eye. I steadied my mind and began applying the needles. Everyone outside the tent awaited the outcome of the wager. Half an hour later, I wiped the fine sweat from my forehead. Your Majesty Empress Dowager, rest assured. The Crown Prince is not in serious danger and will awaken soon. A low moan came from the bed. The Empress Dowager released my hand and rushed over, both shocked and delighted. I sat at the table writing out a prescription. As long as the Crown Prince takes the medicine on time. The Empress Dowager suddenly said. You saved the Crown Prince's life. Why not marry into the Eastern Palace and become the Crown Princess? After returning to the palace, we shall have the Emperor arrange your marriage. My hand jerked, the brush nearly falling to the floor. This humble woman is merely a female physician, surely unworthy of the Crown Prince. My cheeks flushed as I declined politely. More important than an arranged marriage was something else. I glanced at the water clock, calculating the time. By now, the consort in the coffin should have breathed her last. I knelt before the Empress Dowager, deliberately feigning hesitation, lowering my voice. Your Majesty Empress Dowager, this humble woman has a matter to report. The imperial consort was not poisoned. She contracted a plague illness which may be contagious. She must be buried immediately. Because I had just cured the Crown Prince. The Empress Dowager frowned slightly, looking tense, deeply trusting my words. Moreover, they were both imperial consorts and not on good terms. The Empress Dowager immediately ordered. Seal the consort's coffin. Find a place and bury her at once. The news spread. Jean Huffing, guarding outside and waiting to see me fail, changed expression drastically. Panicked and frantic, he desperately tried to stop the servants from nailing the coffin shut. Because once the lid was sealed with nails, it could never be opened again. His consort would suffocate inside, and he could no longer elope with her. Jean Huffing's eyes were bloodshot, glaring at me as if wanting to slice me into 1,000 pieces. Nan Sang, it was you? You vicious, poisonous woman. Your Majesties, she is nothing but a swindling quack. Do not believe her. Nan Sang, you are only jealous of the consort, hence using such a malicious scheme. Jealous of what? Their illicit affair? I laughed coldly and retorted. General Jean explained clearly. Jealous of what? Jealous that you care so much for her ladyship the consort. Prompted by my words and Jean Huffing's abnormal agitation, the Emperor and Empress also sensed something amiss. Jean Huffing, sweating profusely, knelt down anxiously and frantically. Your servant worries that the consort, she isn't truly dead. If you don't believe me, open the coffin and let other imperial physicians examine her. Jean Huffing suppressed his panic, looking confident and sure, thinking he could thoroughly shame me, stripping me of my miracle doctor title forever. The coffin was slowly opened. A heavy stench of decay rushed out. 6. The stench made everyone nearby retch in unison. Even the emperor, deeply devoted to his consort, couldn't help raising his sleeve to cover his nose and mouth. Jean Huffing also smelled the decay. The confident smile on his face froze, instantly turning deathly pale with disbelief. Chu Shitong had only drunk a death-simulating drug. How could she smell? In his past life, she had woken up perfectly fine and returned safely to the palace. The person inside the coffin was rotting. Jean Huffing still couldn't believe it. He roughly grabbed an imperial physician, shouting frantically. Why are you all stunned? Don't you value your lives? Go save the consort now. The physician, his collar seized, was thrown beside the coffin and forced to look inside. When Chu Shitong was alive, she was the imperial consort who monopolized the emperor's favor, peerlessly beautiful. But dead, everyone looks equally awful. The person inside had died from poisoning, her face purplish-black and cyanotic. No amount of incense could mask the intense stench of decay. Sealed inside the coffin for too long, her body had stiffened completely, and corpse spots had appeared. The imperial physician took one look and couldn't help but retch. "General, accept our condolences. The imperial consort has perished." Jean Huffing's eyes nearly burst from their sockets. His tall frame almost faltered, threatening to collapse. The body was rotting, covered in corpse spots, yet he stubbornly refused to accept it. "No. Absolutely impossible. It's all because your medical skills are inadequate. The consort drank a death-simulating drug. How could she die?" Jean Huffing muttered brokenly. The Empress Dowager beside me keenly caught his words. "General Jean, what did you say? What death-simulating drug?" Jean Huffing panicked and quickly shut his mouth. The Emperor's devotion, after seeing the corpse spots and smelling the stench, also waned considerably. Especially since I had mentioned the consort might have contracted a plague illness, contagious. The Emperor's tightly furrowed brows never relaxed. The beauty was dead. How could she compare to the safety of his imperial body? The imperial consort has passed. Someone quickly dig a grave and bury the consort here, allowing her to rest in peace. The Emperor issued a hasty order. Because Chu Shitong had died suddenly, she wasn't even permitted into the imperial mausoleum. Jean Huffing looked panicked, his bloodshot eyes turning to me. "Nan Sang Sang, aren't you a miracle doctor? Don't you know the unique skill Ghost Gate 13 needles, able to defy the heavens and snatch people from the king of hell? Hurry up and revive the consort." Jean Huffing commanded me loudly. His eyes were bloodshot and fierce. Had he forgotten, in his past life, how he sliced open my belly, fed my child to the dogs, and told me to stitch my own belly? Facing my desperate pleas, he remained cold-faced and unmoved. "Because of you, Shitong's child in her belly couldn't be born. That bastard in your belly, do you think I would let it live? I deliberately got you pregnant just for this day, to make you taste the pain of losing your flesh and blood, to atone to Shitong." Hatred surged to its peak. I watched coldly as Jean Huffing begged me frantically and brokenly. The corner of my lips lifted, and I laughed softly. "General, have you forgotten? I truly do not know the Ghost Gate 13 needles. You always said I was a swindling fraud. I am a physician, not a deity. I can only save the living, not the dead." The servants dug the grave and prepared to bury the coffin. Jean Huffing rushed over, using his body to shield the coffin, like a god of slaughter, forbidding anyone from touching Chu Shitong's corpse. "The consort isn't dead. Whoever touches her." He roared at me with disgust. "Nan Sang Sang, stop pretending. I know you can. As long as you behave, revive the consort, I'll reluctantly agree to marry you. And after entering my household, since you know medicine, I want you to cut out your own womb, so you can't get pregnant again and make my beloved jealous." How could he think, after the blood feuds of the past life, I would still marry him? I laughed bitterly in extreme anger. "General Jean, stop dreaming. I already have a betrothal." Hearing my words, the Empress Dowager beside me brightened. A flash of jealous coldness appeared in Jean Huffing's eyes. "Nan Sang Sang, a country bumpkin like you, marrying into a general's estate is your fortune. Besides me, who else would lower themselves to marry you? Throwing a tantrum is enough. Don't take it too far," he warned me. Suddenly, the palace servants guarding the consort's coffin screamed in terror. The consort! The consort gave birth. The dead Chu Shitong gave birth to a stillborn child. A coffin birth. Gave birth. The consort is dead. How could she give birth? Jean Huffing's face changed dramatically, his lips trembling slightly. The emperor was equally shocked. The Empress Dowager beside him spoke softly. "His Majesty is nearly 60. Palace consorts have long ceased bearing children. This consort Chu being able to conceive is indeed a rare occurrence." The Empress Dowager's words sobered everyone up. The emperor was past the age of fertility. The child in the consort's womb was suspicious. I knelt before the Empress Dowager. "This humble woman is skilled in medicine. I can assist your Majesty." With the Empress Dowager's command, I walked to the coffin. Chu Shitong had also given birth to a bluish-black stillborn. about 5 months old, already humanoid. This was the child conceived from her affair with Jean Huffing. In the past life, because she couldn't escape the palace, she had to drink the abortion medicine and then incited Jean Huffing to cut my living child out to avenge her bastard. A flash of hatred passed through my eyes as I calmly walked back to the Empress Dowager's side. Your Majesty, the stillborn child delivered by the consort is approximately 5 months old. By investigating men who entered the consort's residence 5 months ago, we can discover the true father. The Empress Dowager nodded. The Emperor, expression gloomy, ordered the eunuchs to investigate immediately. Soon 3 suspects emerged, including Jean Huffing. Jean Huffing still looked nonchalant. The consort was dead, the child stillborn. He thought it would be a dead end, no evidence. I, however, smiled unhurried. This humble woman has a plan to find the man who defiled the harem. We need only test the blood for kinship. The stillborn is newly born. The blood hasn't fully clotted. We can find the biological father. Jean Huffing's facial muscles twitched, his bloodshot eyes glaring venomously at me. Nan Sang Sang, you are so vicious, lowly, and unscrupulous. Are you even human? The child is just a stillborn. Won't you even let it rest? I asked sarcastically. Is General Jean feeling guilty? Why so agitated? What does the consort's bastard have to do with you? In the past life, how he treated me and my unborn child. Of course I would repay him in kind. His beloved, his child in her womb. I would make him lose everything one by one. The Emperor, face overcast, looked at him. Divine physician Nan speaks sense. The stillborn has value for investigation. Proceed with the blood test. We will certainly find that adulterer and exterminate his 9 clans. Jean Huffing's body trembled violently. If not for the Emperor and Empress being present, he probably would have lunged to tear me to shreds. If not for me insisting on the blood test, his child could have been buried whole. His affair with the consort would not have been exposed. The blood test began. 3 small bowls contained the stillborn's blood. They waited for the 3 men to squeeze their blood in to see if it would fuse. Jean Huffing hesitated by the bowls for a long time, face ugly. Finally, under the Emperor's scrutinizing gaze, he squeezed the blood from his fingertip in. Everyone strained their eyes, watching the blood in the bowls for changes. It fused. It truly fused. A eunuch beside the Emperor shrieked in a sharp voice. The Emperor looked at one of the fusing bowls and flew into a rage. Jean Huffing stood frozen, his face deathly pale, ready to kneel and confess. He heard the Empress Dowager say, confusing the imperial bloodline. The father of the bastard is actually a eunuch. What? Jean Huffing's face was a mask of confusion, thinking he misheard, then instantly turned ashen. He lunged forward like a madman, checking the fusing blood in the bowls. Veins bulged on his forehead. Impossible. That's impossible. He had braced himself to confess, prepared for execution. The result felt like an icy slap, striking him hard across the face. The child in Chu Shitong's belly wasn't his. The consort's personal attendant, a fair-skinned, pretty little eunuch, his face now shrouded in a deathly pallor, knelt to confess. This slave's feelings for the consort were genuine. His slave wasn't properly cleansed during castration. I never imagined it would cause the consort to conceive. Consort Nyang Nyang planned to feign death, secretly leave the palace, and bear this slave's child. He began slapping his own face. Pa! Pa! Sounds ringing out. It's all this slave's fault. This slave killed consort Nyang Nyang. What? Chu Shitong wasn't leaving the palace for him. The child she carried wasn't his. Jean Huffing's face went deathly white, staggering backward in disbelief. He had schemed and plotted for Chu Shitong for so long, done so much. Procuring the rare death-simulating drug for her. Arranging personnel to whisk her away from the palace. Even in his past life he had killed our child just to avenge her. In that brief moment Jean Huffing seemed utterly drained, strands of his hair turning white. I watched this scene coldly. A wave of vengeful satisfaction coursed through me, trembling with dark pleasure. Once everything was uncovered, in his towering rage, the Emperor stripped Chu Shitong of her consort title and ordered her corpse flogged. He wanted everyone to witness the fate of those who betrayed the imperial family. Jean Huffing watched numbly. Before, he would have charged forward to protect his beloved woman, even a corpse, forbidding any harm to a single hair on her head. But this time Jean Huffing remained silent for a long time. Motionless, he watched Chu Shitong's corpse being whipped beyond recognition. The stillborn child was also cremated, its ashes scattered. Before I left with the Empress Dowager, Jean Huffing followed behind me. I didn't give him a chance to speak. His eyes bloodshot, filled with guilt and regret, he stared fixedly at my retreating back. The Empress Dowager, due to her poor health, took me into the imperial palace. She asked me to perform acupuncture for her. I personally cooked daily, brewing medicinal decoctions for her. Gradually, under my careful regimen, both the Empress Dowager's and the Emperor's health improved. The Crown Prince's fainting spells also did not recur. Half a year later, the Empress Dowager arranged the marriage between me and the Crown Prince. A few days before the wedding, the bridal silks presented by the palace failed to satisfy Crown Prince Mo Jingchuan. He had someone accompany me to the treasure pavilion to select the 1,000-tael per bolt cloud brocade. Just as I finished selecting the satin and prepared to pay, I encountered Jean Huffing. He immediately spotted the red bridal fabric in my hands, his expression lighting up with shock and excitement. Sang, I knew it. You're still willing to marry me. In our past life I misjudged people, hurting you like that for Chu Shitong's sake. I've long regretted it. Let's live well together this time. This life, I will compensate you and our child for everything. Did he think a mere apology could erase the suffering of my past life? You're buying satin for a wedding gown? I'll pay. Jean Huffing rushed ahead of me to pay the treasure pavilion. 1,000 taels? He stared dumbfounded. Is that right? Is it really that expensive? Jean Huffing turned, his face darkening. Sang, though I am the Zhenghua general, every bit of my salary was earned with my life on the battlefield. Though the general's estate has wealth, we can't squander it like this. In our past life, your wedding gown didn't cost much either. I had almost forgotten. Last life, after being betrothed to him, his heart held only the consort. Resenting my intrusion for saving her, ruining their escape, he treated me with utter contempt. From the wedding gown to the ceremony, everything was shoddy and perfunctory. The gown was a random piece of red cloth. He saved the money to buy pearl headdresses to please the consort, making me the laughingstock of the capital's noble ladies. I slightly lifted my chin, signaling my maid to hand him 1,000-tael silver note. This life, unlike the last where I was confined in the general's estate, unable to practice my healing arts despite my skill. With the Empress Dowager's trust and praise, I quickly gained renown among the capital's aristocratic families. They all knew I was the closed-door disciple of the reclusive medicine immortal. My consultation fees alone surpassed 1,000 taels. Jean Huffing held the note, awkwardly trying to justify himself. Sang, I didn't mean it like that. I was just thinking of our future, not wanting you to adopt the extravagant habits of the city's young ladies. Women should learn frugality to manage the household properly. I ignored Jean Huffing. His very presence sickened me. I boarded the carriage with my maid. 10 days later, I left my residence, bought with my fees in the South City, to be wed. A fiery red procession wound through the entire capital. The gifts for the Crown Prince's bride were beyond counting. From the ridiculed country physician girl of the past life, I became the envy of all. Who'd have thought a mountain physician girl's luck could be so good, favored by the Empress, becoming Crown Princess overnight? Since arriving in the capital, I had often dispensed medicine, set up free clinics, treating those who couldn't afford care. Such comments drew defenders. What mountain physician girl? She's the sole successor of the medicine immortal lineage, revered even by the emperor as a divine physician. She saved the Crown Prince's life to become Crown Princess. If you're so jealous and resentful, go save the Crown Prince with your own skills. I paid little mind to the clamor. Just as the bridal sedan chair neared the Eastern Palace, it was abruptly halted. Jean Huffing, sword in hand, blocked the procession, his eyes overflowing with bloodshot fury. Sang, we are husband and wife. I forbid you to marry the Crown Prince. With that, he attacked the procession, intent on stealing the bride. I apologize for the past life. Why won't you forgive me? He panted, unwilling. I thought you bought the red satin for our wedding gown. How dare you betray me and marry the Crown Prince? The money for the satin, it paid for it, he shouted loudly. Onlookers murmured. Jean Huffing sat astride his horse, smug. My bridesmaid beside me flushed with anger. General, do not slander the crown princess's honor. True, you paid that day, but the 1,000 taels were returned by Her Highness. I personally placed it in your hand. You snatched it immediately and wouldn't let go. How can you make false accusations now? Jean Huffing's face froze, quickly changing tack. This general forgot. But I did rush to pay for her, believing she was making a gown to marry me. I considered stepping out to clarify publicly. A pair of long, elegant, warm hands held mine. A clear, gentle voice murmured in my ear. Don't be afraid. Stay seated. I'll handle it. Recognizing the faint medicinal scent on the newcomer, my tense nerves instantly relaxed. Mo Jingchuan, burdened as heir apparent, studying with tutors daily and assisting the emperor, was diligent. I brewed him a daily tonic to relieve fatigue and soothe the mind. He had clearly drunk it, his clothes carrying the subtle fragrance. Crown Prince, Jean Huffing declared. Miss Nan and I are in love. You shouldn't use your status to steal another's beloved. Mo Jingchuan's slender fingers intertwined with mine, his voice cool and unhurried. General claims mutual affection with Sang Sang? Where is your proof? Your looks pale before this prince, your status and rank cannot compare. Sang Sang has clear sight. She would never choose you over the position of crown princess. I couldn't help a soft laugh. Mocked Jean Huffing's voice twisted. Unable to challenge the prince, he sought to shame me. Nan Sang Sang still laughing? Get back here now. If you keep this up, I might truly refuse to marry you. Don't you want my compensation? In our past life you wanted my heart, the position of general's lady. I'll give it all to you now, all right? I laughed until tears threatened, saying slowly, General Jean, if your mind is unwell, shall I prescribe you free medicine? Your heart? Dug out and fed to dogs, even they would refuse. Where did his confidence come from? Thinking I desired him. Jean Huffing scowled, sneering. Nan Sang Sang, I never realized you were just like other women, coveting wealth and status. Before I could reply, Mo Jingchuan's voice turned icy. Sang Sang is this prince's crown princess. From now on, General, you will kneel when you see her. Insult her again, and this prince will have you jailed to sober up, even on this joyous day. Jean Huffing choked. His dark eyes, filled with furious resentment, remained locked on me. I released Mo Jingchuan's hand, whispering softly near his ear. Your Highness, grant me a moment. I have 2 sentences to say personally to General Jean. Seeing me dismiss the surrounding guards and walk towards him, Jean Huffing's eyes welled up, tears spilling, full of deep affection. Sang Sang, I knew it. You would choose me, you would forgive me. In our past life it was all my fault. That bitch is dead. From now on I will cherish you and our child. He cast a triumphant, sneering glance towards the crown prince. I scoffed. General Jean, I presented the evidence of your affair with the consort to the emperor. Jean Huffing stiffened abruptly, expression frozen, utterly stunned. He forced a smile. Sang Sang, what nonsense is this? That bitch wasn't carrying my kilt. You must be mistaken. The crimson bridal robe set off my snow-pale face, my eyes dark, like an avenging spirit clawing its way, step by blood-stained step, from the underworld. Misunderstanding. I revive the dead, regenerate flesh on bones. I have never misdiagnosed. Where is the misunderstanding? I let the smile fade from my lips. Dark eyes gazed at him with mockery and pity. The child the consort carried was always yours. I merely manipulated the blood kinship test. My vermilion lips curved in a low laugh. I wanted you to witness your beloved and your child, bones crushed to ash, destroyed utterly before your eyes. Jean Huffing, tell me, isn't this the perfect revenge? This was what he owed me from the past life. The blood feuds I would not forget. My lips curved further. However, Chu Shitong indeed had more than one man. The little eunuch spoke truth. He was one of the consort's favored slaves. Jean Huffing lost all color, veins throbbing on his face. His chest heaved as if about to explode. After a long moment, a trembling voice emerged. Nan Sang Sang, you think I'd believe your lies? I turned calmly. Believe it or not, as you wish. Jean Huffing nearly fell from his horse, teeth grinding. Nan Sang Sang, you vicious, poisonous snake. I will tear you to pieces. Sang Sang, watch out. I had taken only 2 steps when Jean Huffing's roar erupted, and the sound of a sword thrust followed. Poisonous woman. Go apologize to Shitong and the child. Emo Jingchuan pulled my wrist. I stumbled into his solid, medicine-scented embrace. He spun me around, placing himself squarely in front of me. Your Highness. My pupils dilated in a cry. Zhang Huffing's thrust was interrupted. Imperial guards rushed in, surrounding him. Zhang Huffing, driven nearly mad by my words, eyes blood-red. He tried desperately to charge, to drag me down with him. But Emo Jingchuan held me tightly, shielding me with his body. In the critical moment, the arriving Imperial Guard severed Zhang Huffing's tendons in his wrists and ankles. Finally crippled, he collapsed to his knees, still cursing me venomously. I should never have let you live. After rebirth, I should have killed you with one stroke. No matter how fiercely he cursed, he was dragged away like a dying dog. The Crown Prince's wedding proceeded. Within the hibiscus-curtained bridal chamber, after the nuptial wine, Emo Jingchuan's eyes burned, deep with intense desire. His cool lips met mine, pressing down heavily, exploring every contour. I gasped for breath, overwhelmed. The man who seemed elegant and refined shed his crimson robe, revealing a powerfully built frame, muscles sharply defined. Applying needles for him before, I knew his form was excellent. Emo Jingchuan guided my hand to rest on his abdomen. Sang, everything I have is yours. I felt a pang of regret for sending him strengthening tonics daily. His stamina was formidable. Only well past midnight did he finally hold me satisfied. His lips brushed lightly against my neck. Your Highness married me, treats me so well. Is it solely because I saved you? My heart tightened. If someone else had saved him, would he have agreed to the marriage? Emo Jingchuan chuckled softly, nuzzling my neck affectionately. Seems you truly forgot. The little boy in the valley 10 years ago. I stayed with you so long, taught you calligraphy, took you chasing butterflies, carried you seeking herbs. You called me Brother Emo. When I left, you wept. His reminder brought memories flooding back. Our lineage lived secluded in the mountain valley. I never had playmates. Until 10 years ago, my master brought in a youth, a few years older, jade-like in appearance. Master said he suffered a rare illness needing quiet convalescence, sent by his parents. He said his surname was Emo. I followed him everywhere, calling him Brother Emo. After 3 years in the valley healed, he was taken away. I cried for days. Unexpectedly reborn. I had finally married the one who held my youthful heart. The next morning, Emo Jingchuan accompanied me to pay respects to the Empress Dowager. My lips were still swollen and red. The Empress Dowager took my hand, seating me beside her. Jingchuan waited all these years. His wish is finally fulfilled. He searched for a girl for so long, not knowing her name, only that she possessed great healing skill. Returning to the palace, he brooded for ages, shut in his study, painting a girl's portrait over and over. The Empress Dowager slipped the phoenix bracelet from her wrist onto mine. The day you came to the camp tent to treat Jingchuan, I recognized you. I thought, the girl Jingchuan yearned for all these years, I simply had to help him keep her. Sitting with the Empress Dowager, sharing intimate words. Her expression turned serious, mentioning Zhang Huffeng. He was brazen, disregarding palace laws, daring to commit adultery with an imperial consort, even siring a bastard. Thankfully you uncovered it. Exposed, he dared attack you and the crown prince publicly. Truly unforgivable. The emperor has decreed, stripping him of his rank and imprisoning him, awaiting the most severe punishment. Imprisoned, Zhang Huffeng finally regained his senses. He begged the guards to let me see him one last time, claiming sincere repentance. To beg my forgiveness, spare his life. He had even carved my name into his chest. I refused. I didn't grant him a single glance. After autumn, Zhang Huffeng was bound to the execution platform, sentenced to death by Lingqi, death by 1,000 cuts. My hand rested on my belly. Beneath the cloud brocade, a swell was visible. Emo Jingchuan, protective, didn't want me witnessing the gore. But I insisted on seeing his end. Cut after cut fell. His screams echoed. I sat serenely behind the silk screen. The royal child within me stirred gently. Lifting my hand to caress my belly, I smiled tenderly. My child, watch closely. The one who owed us in our past life, your mother has made him repay with his own.